That night, in the upper room lit by the flickering glow of oil lamps, the atmosphere was heavier than ever. Only a few hours later, the betrayal would occur. But before that fateful moment, Jesus did something the canonical Gospels never recorded. He did not summon all 12 familiar disciples, but called only the three closest to him, Peter, James, and John. This was not a random choice. They were the ones who had witnessed the transfiguration with him, who had seen things beyond ordinary human perception, things the others were never meant to see. While below, on the dark streets of Jerusalem, Roman soldiers had begun their search. The space within that room felt separated, like an entirely different world. There Jesus did not teach in parables, nor did he speak of morality or laws. He gave the three disciples three sacred items, physical objects that carried within them an invisible power. According to this account, they were not merely symbols, but real tools, charged with a frequency so powerful that the Archons, those unseen forces believed to rule and imprison the material world, could not approach anyone who possessed them. These three items, along with their meaning and function, were systematically erased from all official teachings for nearly 2 millennia. Not because they were meaningless, but because they were too dangerous to structures of power built on control and dependence. In this hidden tradition, Jesus was not only a teacher who spoke words, but one who transmitted tools, practical means of liberation designed specifically for those who carried the divine spark within them. From this perspective, the message of that night was not meant for the crowd, nor for those seeking only spiritual comfort. It was meant for the few who were ready, those capable of recognizing that liberation does not come solely from belief, but from knowledge, practice, and the reclaiming of power that had always belonged to them. According to ancient Gnostic texts, the picture of the world humanity inhabits is entirely different from what traditional religion has described. This material world is not the creation of the highest divine source, but an artificial construct designed to imprison and exploit. Human beings in this view are not merely physical creatures, but divine sparks, fragments of pure consciousness, trapped within finite forms. The true source of all existence is called the monad, a state of absolute consciousness, undivided and limitless, from which all true light and life arise. The monad does not intervene directly in this material world. Between the monad and humanity exists a distorted intermediary, the false creator or demiurge. This entity believes itself to be the supreme God, but in reality is only the architect of limitation. It did not create the human soul, only the cage that imprisons it. Beneath the demiurge operate the Archons, beings that run the system. They are not portrayed as demons in the conventional moral sense, but more like cosmic officials who manage reincarnation, memory, and forgetting. Their task is to ensure that divine sparks are continually reborn into new bodies, forgetting their true origin and never accumulating enough awareness to escape the system. From this viewpoint, fear, ignorance, and helplessness are not accidental. They are the products of a subtle mechanism designed to keep humanity in a low, controllable state. When people forget who they truly are, they cling to the material world, to external authority, and to systems that promise salvation while maintaining dependence. The Gnostic worldview is therefore not merely philosophical, but a call to awakening. It poses a fundamental question. If this world is a prison, then liberation does not come from better obedience, but from remembering one's true nature and finding a way beyond the structure built to confine us. In the Gnostic understanding, the role of Jesus goes far beyond the familiar image of a moral teacher or religious instructor. He did not come merely to speak abstract truths, but to directly return to humanity the means of real liberation. Words in this context were only one part. More important were the things that could be transmitted beyond language, concrete tools usable by those who were ready to awaken. According to the Gnostic texts, Jesus understood very clearly the nature of the system that imprisons humanity. He knew that the Archons do not control through brute force, but through frequency, through fear, unconsciousness, and forgetting. Therefore, he did not only teach people what to believe, but showed them how to step outside the range of that influence. Salvation in this view is not a promise for a distant future, but a capacity that can be activated in the present moment. In texts such as the Gospel of Philip, Jesus is described as a direct messenger from the supreme source of consciousness, carrying knowledge of frequencies that the controlling forces cannot touch. He chose to transmit this knowledge to a few, not out of favoritism, but because not everyone is ready to bear the responsibility that comes with freedom. Tools of liberation are not meant for crowds seeking comfort, but for individuals who have begun to question the very structure of the world. From this perspective, Jesus did not come to establish a new religion, nor to create another system of power. He came to break dependence, to return agency to each individual. The liberation he brought does not lie in obedience to him, but in each person recognizing the divine spark within and learning how to protect and nurture it. Thus, the core message is not believe, but remember. Remember who you truly are. Remember that you do not belong to the cage built around you, and remember that you were once given the tools to open the door and step outside. Among the 3 sacred items passed down, oil holds a special and profound significance. According to Gnostic texts, holy oil, also called chrism, is not merely a ritual symbol, but a means of directly affecting the human energy field. The Gospel of Philip even states that anointing is more important than baptism. One is called a Christian not because one is immersed in water, but because one is anointed, becoming the anointed one. This meaning was gradually obscured in Orthodox tradition. Oil became an empty formality, performed mechanically without understanding how it truly works. In the Gnostic view, oil was not simply poured on the head as a token gesture. It was applied precisely with clear awareness to specific points on the body, points where the human energy field interfaces most strongly with the material world. These points include the forehead, the center of the chest, and the hands. This choice is not random. The forehead is where thoughts arise, where doubt, fear, and illusion are most easily implanted. The center of the chest is the energetic heart, where the divine spark connects most directly with this realm. The hands are portals of exchange, through which energy is given and received in every interaction. When oil is consecrated with awakened awareness and applied to these points, it creates a seal, a vibrational barrier that Archons cannot penetrate. The texts describe this state in very clear terms. One who receives the light cannot be seen and cannot be detained. This is not poetic language or moral metaphor, but technical instruction for spiritual protection. Yet instead of transmitting this knowledge, the Church preserved the ritual while removing understanding, making people dependent on clergy. In this hidden tradition, oil requires no external authority to function. When combined with proper awareness and recognition of one's divine origin, it becomes a tool through which each individual can seal their own energy field, protect the inner spark, and gradually free themselves from the influence of unseen forces that have controlled them for far too long. Among the 3 sacred items mentioned, salt appears the simplest, yet in ancient tradition, it possesses extraordinary protective power. Salt appears throughout many cultures and sacred texts not by chance, but because of its unique properties in both the physical and energetic realms. When Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth," this was not moral advice or poetic imagery, but encoded instruction for those able to listen deeply. In the physical world, salt preserves and prevents decay. This property makes it a symbol, and more than a symbol, a tool of purification and boundary creation. In the energetic world, salt is believed to function in the same way. Invisible forces feed on low vibrational states such as fear, anxiety, despair, and chaos. When these emotions accumulate, the human energy field becomes corrupted, creating openings for intrusion and manipulation. Salt, when used with clear awareness and deliberate intention, can establish boundaries that such influences cannot cross. Ancient practitioners understood this well. They placed salt at thresholds and around sleeping spaces, places where humans are most vulnerable when consciousness temporarily leaves the body. Salt not only protects external space, but is also used to act from within. In this hidden tradition, salt is blessed with intentional words and then taken into the body. At that point, it is no longer merely a mineral, but a carrier of frequency. When it enters the biological system, salt interacts directly with the body's electrical impulses, helping raise the overall vibrational state. This purification is not symbolic, but is seen as a real process occurring at the cellular level. What makes salt dangerous to systems of control is not the substance itself, but human understanding. Once the mechanism is recognized, people no longer need intermediaries or external authority. With salt, awareness, and reclaimed knowledge, each individual can establish their own boundaries, protect themselves, and gradually free themselves from invisible manipulation rooted in fear and ignorance. In Gnostic tradition, bread, the third sacred item, is considered the most essential and also the most distorted and hidden. For most people, the breaking of bread in Christian communities has become merely a commemorative ritual, a symbolic act recalling the past. Yet according to ancient texts, the original meaning of bread was entirely different. It was not just memory, but an energetic tool capable of profoundly affecting human beings at the level of body, mind, and consciousness. From this perspective, humans do not exist as isolated physical bodies, but as an interweaving of flesh and energy field. What is taken into the body does not only nourish physically, but directly influences inner vibration. For this reason, the sacred meal in early Christian communities was not a mechanical act, but an awakened ritual. Bread was made, broken, and consumed in a state of full presence, with collective awareness oriented toward unity. When bread is prepared with clear intention and eaten in a focused state, it is seen as carrying a unifying frequency. Once inside the body, it becomes not only nourishment, but an energetic binder, helping fragmented parts of the self gradually reunite. The state of becoming one body, described in ancient texts, is not a social metaphor, but a description of energetic synchronization among those who share the sacred meal. According to this view, controlling forces cannot attack a unified energy field. They rely on division, isolation, and the sense of separation to maintain influence. When humans live in fragmentation between body and mind, between individual and community, they become easily manipulated. Bread, when used correctly, disrupts this mechanism by restoring unity from within. Because of this power, the true meaning of bread was emptied. The ritual remained, but awareness was lost. In the hidden tradition, eating bread in consciousness requires no intermediary or external authority. It is an act each individual performs to remember that they are not divided, not alone, and not separate from the shared source of life. When this unity is restored, people move beyond vulnerability and beyond the reach of systems based on separation. According to this line of thought, the greatest tragedy is not that the three sacred items were destroyed or lost, but that humanity's right to use them was taken away. The early church did not eliminate oil, salt, or bread. On the contrary, all three were retained in official rituals. Oil remained in anointing, salt appeared in baptism, and bread remained in communion. What changed decisively was humanity's position in relation to these items. Instead of being given knowledge to use them directly, people were taught that only the chosen, the ordained, had authority to consecrate them. Power was no longer located in the union of substance and personal awareness, but transferred into a hierarchical system. Rituals became something bestowed, not something one could activate oneself. People ceased to be active participants and became passive recipients. From this perspective, this is the great theft. Not the theft of material objects, but the theft of awareness. When people believe they are not holy enough, not worthy enough, or not authorized enough to connect directly with the divine, they will always need an intermediary. That dependence becomes the foundation of power, control, and a system that survives by maintaining distance between humanity and its own source. The hidden message is that the spark within each person is no lesser than the spark in anyone else. The authority Jesus gave to the chosen did not come from rank or title, but from frequency of consciousness. The supreme source recognizes no hierarchy, only resonance. When this was removed from teaching, people learned to doubt themselves and to hand over authority over their spiritual lives to others. In the hidden tradition, restoration does not require destroying rituals, but returning their true meaning. When people remember that they have the right to interact directly with the divine, sacred items cease to be tools of control and return to their original role, means for individuals to protect themselves, awaken themselves, and step out of centuries-long dependence. According to this section, The key to understanding the entire mechanism lies not in ritual or blind belief, but in the principle of frequency, a fundamental law governing everything in the material world. Everything vibrates. Not only atoms or physical matter, but human thoughts, emotions, and words also carry their own frequencies. Humans are not merely thinking or feeling, but constantly emitting and interacting with invisible vibrational fields. From this perspective, controlling forces do not act randomly. They can only perceive and influence individuals vibrating within a certain range, a low-frequency band associated with fear, confusion, despair, and unconsciousness. When people exist in that state, they become visible and easy to interfere with. When frequency rises, the connection is naturally severed, not through struggle, but through no longer sharing the same wavelength. The three sacred items operate precisely on this principle. They are not charms or miracles, but physical frequency anchors. Oil holds and transmits intention within its structure. Salt, with its stable crystalline lattice, creates clear vibrational boundaries. Bread, when prepared and consumed in awareness, restructures inner fragmentation and brings scattered parts back into coherence. Most importantly, these items do not automatically create change. A bottle of oil, a pinch of salt, or a loaf of bread, without awareness, are merely neutral matter. It is human presence and intention that activate them. Words are not just sound, but vibrational waves carrying information. When spoken from a state of clear awareness, they interact directly with the surrounding energy field. In this understanding, protection does not come from outside, but from changing one's own vibrational state. When frequency shifts, the relationship with systems of control shifts automatically. There is no need to fight or flee. One simply moves, and in that movement, what once held power suddenly loses the ability to touch. In this section, the focus turns to concrete practice, emphasizing that knowledge has value only when put into action. The three sacred items, oil, salt, and bread, do not function as automatic magic. They become tools of transformation only when activated by the clear awareness and deliberate intention of the person using them. Without this element, everything remains an empty ritual or inert matter. Practice begins with oil. The oil chosen is not random, but pure and rooted in ancient tradition. Before use, it must be charged with awareness, meaning the practitioner must be fully present, knowing what they are doing and why. Words are spoken not to be recited mechanically, but to shape frequency. When awareness and speech unite, oil becomes a carrier of information capable of affecting the personal energy field. Salt is used according to the same principle. Not refined, lifeless salt, but salt that retains its natural structure. It is held in the hand, consecrated with intentional words, and then used. Placing salt in living spaces, especially where one sleeps, establishes an energetic boundary. When salt is taken into the body with awareness, it acts as an internal purifier, supporting the elevation of overall vibrational state. Bread requires the most preparation. Ideally, it is made in a state of awareness, with presence in every step. Even when that is not possible, choosing simple bread with minimal industrial interference matters. Before eating, the bread is held, infused with the intention of unity and remembrance of shared origin. Eating slowly and consciously transforms an ordinary act into a process of inner restructuring. All guidance revolves around one core truth. No one can do this for you. There is no intermediary, no external authority. Presence, awareness, and personal decision are the activating forces. When practice is carried out with understanding and wakefulness, the three sacred items cease to be abstract ideas and become living means through which individuals gradually reclaim authority over their inner life and energy field. The final part of the content brings everything together in a strong call to action, emphasizing that knowledge has meaning only when applied immediately. According to this line of thought, the moment of receiving this information is not accidental. When someone reads or hears these ideas, they are in a particular state of awareness, where attention, curiosity, and inner sensitivity are open. This is the window that will quickly close if no action is taken. The core message is that procrastination is not merely a psychological habit, but a self-protective mechanism of the old system. Doubt, the feeling of, "I'll do it tomorrow," or the thought that something is too simple to work, are described as invisible forces pulling a person back into familiar patterns. Without action, the experience fades, like a passing dream rather than a clear instruction. The three sacred items, oil, salt, and bread, are restated as a complete set of keys. Oil seals the key points of the personal energy field. Salt establishes boundaries and purification, both externally and internally. Bread reunifies fragmented aspects of the self, restoring wholeness. Each element serves a distinct function, but only together do they form a complete structure of protection and awakening. The call to act tonight is not for drama, but because the present state of awareness is not easily repeated. When attention is fresh and inner sensation clear, action leaves a deeper imprint. Immediate practice is presented as an inner declaration, choosing not to return to the old state of forgetfulness and passivity. In closing, the message does not seek to persuade or force, but places choice in the hands of each individual. The tools have been given, the knowledge has been recalled. What remains does not lie in words or belief, but in personal decision. Action or inaction will determine whether this experience remains merely a story read or becomes the beginning of a real transformation in how one relates to oneself and to the world.